Okay, great. Well, thank you for joining for as long as you could, as much as you could, when you could. Appreciate that.
Of course.
Great. And thank you, Avinash Dada, also for joining. Sanjeev Bhai is on vacation. He's not able to. And then I know that your dad, Anchal, they are having this weekend the Guruma Live program since Friday, so they're all busy as well.
That's what I thought was happening.
Yeah. And then my other brother, he had an impulse to go to India. He just took off last night. So, but we'll carry on. Right, I'm going to mute everyone. Great. And so we were, to the extent that I remember, we had gotten up to the 17th verse, and we were entering the 18th verse of the second chapter. The second chapter goes by two names, Sankhya Yoga and Atma Yoga. Sankhya is numerical, or numbers, numerology. But really what it means is analysis or analytical, essentially. Yoga is uniting, becoming one with, fixing. So uniting with the truth, uniting with the Lord, or uniting with the goal, or however you want to define him, her, it, whatever is the end destination, reaching that through analytical understanding, essentially, the truth of it, deeply pondering upon it, figuring it out, understanding it. It also goes by the name of Atma Yoga. Atma is the tiniest unit of life, as I was saying during Dhyan, life let, as I call it, or life draw, or life drawn. I used to call it life drawn, like a photon, electron, neutron, proton, life drawn. So it's like an atom is the smallest unit of matter. If you go beyond that, then you're destroying the package, the smallest unit, if you will. And there's obviously subatomic particles also, but a single package like that, it has the protons, the electrons, and neutrons. Naturally, within that, as we now know, there are subatomic and beyond subatomic particles. But those are the three constituents of the tiniest unit of, like a single package unit of, like that. Atma, atom. It's interesting again, like the atom, the Atma is the single smallest unit of life itself. And like the atom has the protons, electrons, neutrons, three essential components, the lifetron also has Sat Chit Ananda. It's been defined as Sat Chit Ananda. Okay. And so there are interesting parallels. Some other time we could actually take one-to-one correspondence between these two, which one relates to which and how and all that. And I've spent some time in my own solitude pondering over it, and I've made some fascinating discoveries about it. And so uniting, just like a photon is emanating from the sun, really technically is united with the sun, has come from the sun, is connected with the ray that is still emanating from the sun. And as it's falling on the object, it's still, in theory, technically connected with the sun, the photon, or the electron to the lump of mass. So is the Atma connected with the Paramatma. Now we're just the projection, the manifestation, the expansion of the supreme, super soul. And so understanding that, and then identifying with that, uniting with it in the sense of identifying with it. Right now, we've separated ourselves in our thought. We have misidentified with the limited and the separate, disconnected. We're different broken pieces. I'm one man, he's another man, she's another woman. Individuality focused, different, separate. And therefore we become anxious in it. You constantly experience anxiety in it, the misery and the separateness. Then unification and uniting We get rid of the anxiety. There's security in it, replacing inner security in it. And the truth of the matter is that we actually are, just as I oftentimes say, every drop in the ocean is the ocean. We call it drop because we tend to focus on the tiniest particle, and then therefore we say this is a drop. But really, in truth, it is the whole connected with the whole, and therefore the whole. Every wave is like that. Every dream character is essentially, really, true, in truth, the dreamer. And so it is that we are in him and he in us, or she. Take your pick. But because we have misidentified with the form factor, with the form, the limited, we become anxious and miserable because our inherent nature is expansive, is vast, is limitless. We shall not be limited by nature, and that is dharma. A very misunderstood interpretation of the original sense of the word dharma was never a Hindu dharma or Muslim dharma or Christian dharma or Buddha dharma. That's the inherent quality, it's the intrinsic nature of our soul, of our being. The same as the totality, the total of it. So in the Gita, in the 3rd chapter, we hear Sri Krishna says in the next chapter, Swadharme nidhanam shreya paradharma bhayavaha. That's one of the very famous shlokas. It's a half a verse that I said, Swadharme nidhanam shreya. Nidhan is death. If you have to leave your body while absorbed in the consciousness of Swadharma, that intrinsically, inherently, I'm a lifelet, I'm a life drop, I'm a life drawn. I'm not this body, this flesh, this bones, and the blood flowing through the veins. I'm not that. It is far superior to die and shed this body than, and never mind that, paradharma bhaya, than to take on some other truth, that which is not, that I am the body, or I am the mind, or I am. It has various interpretations, it has various connotations of it. It also means, on a little more superficial level, it's best to remain who we are, be comfortable in our skin, as they say, be cool with ourselves. Sri Krishna says to Arjuna, you are a kshatriya, you're a warrior, you're a prince, and you've been enduring injustice. So it's best to fight this battle, fight this war, even if you die in this, because you'll be sticking with your nature, with your design intent. All of us have a design intent. We've been designed in a particular way. We have a certain trajectory. We have a certain destination. We have been on a journey. Believe it or not, understand it or not, know it or not. Right now, you will, without a doubt, you will, 100% certainty, guaranteed you will, if you stay on this path. In this very chapter later on this week, did we do that shloka yet? No, I don't think so. We did. Yeah, so it'll come. Swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. He also says to us, even a littlest effort on this path will never go to waste. It'll protect you from great insecurities in life. It's worth it. It's totally worth it. It's never too late. There's no such thing in the context of the Gita as being late or any of that. It reaches, in the morning we had a session for people in India and Marathi, and we were doing the 6th chapter in there. And I was explaining to them the glory of the Gita. One of the many glories of the Gita is that it reaches where we are at. We just came back from vacation. We had gone to see our daughter in Phoenix, and then Tempe, and then we took a vacation to northern Arizona, Flagstaff and all. And there's hills, and you go up and you go down, drive down, all that. And if you were stuck somewhere in the middle of the mountain, we had to call AAA, call a tow truck. And if the AAA guy, if the tow truck says, yeah, sure, I'll rescue you, just come up a few miles, just 3 more miles up, bring up. Well, no, you don't understand. I ran out of gas, or my whatever battery is dead, if it's an electric car. Or I have a flat tire. I cannot drive 3 more miles. I'm stuck in this mode. Well, just come down a few miles. No, I cannot. You got to understand, I am stuck here in this. You have to come where I am and rescue me. Okay, and then sure, the tow truck comes and has the power and the might to lift up the entire vehicle, all of it like a toy car, and place it someplace, and then drive off and get it to a place to fix it. So is the Gita. It reaches us where we're at. It does not expect that, oh, you spent 12 years hanging upside down some branch of a tree, or you go find your cave and do this kind of fast, or eat only this color food on these days, or only drink milk or fruit, or only vegetarian, or only this, or any of that. Gita makes no such distinction. Gita does not leave any child behind. And it says, wherever you're at, it'll come. And hence, it's been given this sort of designation. It's been called like a mother, like a loving mother. A 6-month-old infant is crying in the crib, and the mother's watching news or some show in the living room, or making some roti chapatis in the kitchen. She's not going to say, well, if you want milk, if you're hungry, you're going to have to come here. I'm busy. Can't you see? No, she drops the remote. She stops making chapatis. Top priority. She goes where the child is crying. That's a mother. So is the Gita. Gita-I in Marathi, it's called Gita-I, I think Gita Mother. Mother Gita. It comes wherever this crying baby. I was once crying baby. Cry baby and a crying baby. And it came in my life, wherever I was. And so there's no such thing in the world of the Gita as too late or this or that. The only prerequisite is an open mind. You have a little bit of an open mind to believe, and then it'll start doing its own work. And will continue to open. The key will open more and more, expand our viewpoint, like a horse, blinded horse. We've been living all this life only looking at what's presented in front of us. And as soon as the blinders are taken off or slowly ripped off, you get to see, oh my God, there was so much there to life. There is so much to the truth around me. There's so much to understand. There is so much joy in life. I never knew it existed all around me. I thought I was in a rut. I thought I had to always only work hard. I thought I had to ingratiate people or this or that, and nothing like that. It's such a light-hearted, light touch, a casual, joyful, playful life. Gita will set us in becoming playfully professional. That's what I've gained from it. Ever remaining playful and never unprofessional in any interaction, anything. So it's a lovely path to become playfully professional in all aspects of life. And so, as always, without fail, I forget what this has to do with wherever we were. I got carried away, blown away again. So let's just start, regardless. Let's start where we were. The 18th shlok. Antavanta ime deha nityasyokta sharirina anashino aprameyasya tasmad yuddhasva bharata. I think a couple of people in the past had said that they would like to recite at least one shlok, just to see how it feels on the tongue, to say Sanskrit, and also to experience the immortal words spoken by the Lord. What a privilege it is, if it is the truth, right? I'm not insisting. It is definitely my truth, but I'm not insisting that it be your truth as well. But I am insisting that you keep an open mind, a slightly open mind, that maybe, who knows, maybe it happened. Maybe there was such a person as Krishna. Maybe he said these things. Who knows? But I wouldn't want you to say a thing that, no, it could not have. That's death. That's a death nail. An open mind is the most beautiful possession one can have. And a closed mind might as well be a dead mind. Right? And so if it strikes a chord with you, maybe let's start differently this time. I'll say this verse breaking down into pieces. It's called Sandhi Vigraha in Sanskrit. Sandhi is like sewing together, joining together different pieces. As I often say, this is a very modular language. When you get modular furniture or modular kitchen, you can move pieces around and you can make different shapes and you can create different arrangements. And you can create different kinds, levels of ambience and comfort depending on the need. So is this language. You can plug and play different words in different ways and get a lot of fun out of it, a lot of deep meaning out of it as well. But in order for that to happen, different words are brought together, joined together, and then disbanded. And it has two sides. It's Sandhi is sewing. Sandhi, Vigraha is separating. And then Samas is another device, grammatical device in the Sanskrit language. It's different from Sandhi. It seems similar, but it's different in that in one, the words are literally sewn together to create like a fuller meaning. In the others, the words are just joined together, but they still retain their own original meaning. So keeping that in mind, I'll say it the way that those words are sewn together. Anta, Vanta. Remember, this is in the form of poetry also. And you'll start to see and feel the rhythm and the meters and in the lyrics of it. Gita, right? Gita is song of the Lord. Gita, BhagwadGita. This is the song of the Lord. And a song is beautiful. It's lovely when it is also, when it rhymes, essentially. And it does. So, Anta, Vanta, Ime, Deha. So, Anta, Vanta, Ime, Deha. Nityasya, Uktaha, Sharirinaha. Nityasyokta Sharirinaha Anashino Aprameyasya Tasmat Yuddha Swa Bharata. I know that this will be a mouthful and difficult to say. Say it anyway. I can't hear you anyway. Antavanta ime deha Nityasyoktah Sharirinaha Anashino Aprameyasya Tasmat Yuddhasva Bharata. So I will read the translation in Hindi and in English, and then we'll decode it. Is Nasharahit Aprameya नित्य स्वरूप जीवात्मा के ये सब शरीर नाशवान कहे गए हैं, इसलिए हे भरतवंशी अर्जुन तू युद्ध कर. The body is mortal, but that which dwells in the body is immortal and immeasurable. Therefore, Arjun, fight in this battle. Before that, I'll turn off my cricket pager, my text. Before that, he had said, you might remember the last look that we'd done last time. You may remember, may not remember, but I'll repeat it. Realize that, Arjun, which pervades the universe and is indestructible. No power can affect this unchanging, imperishable reality. And that shloka was 17. Avinashita tadviddhi yena sarvam vidam tatam. So before that, I do have to take a couple of steps back to set the context again, to refresh memories. Verse number 16, I'd say one of the most potent, one of the most powerful verses in it, in which he had said that, listen, that which does not exist has no power. It's a very simple sounding truth, but it's a very profound truth. That which does not even exist has no power. All power belongs to that which exists. Na asato vidyate bhavo, na abhavo vidyate satah. What the heck does that mean? And he then says, those, the seer, those who know, those who have experienced, the realized ones, have experienced it. And then therefore they just become and remain carefree after that. Carefree, fearless, all that. And so how that means is that in a dream, for example, no matter how bad of a dream character I'm experiencing right now, if I'm sleeping, if I'm in a dream, if I'm seeing a nightmare, a very powerful, very indomitable, forceful, fierce creature, or a villain, oppressing, torturing, in truth has no power because it does not exist, has no power. I need only wake up and all its power is gone. So long as I'm in ignorance, so long as I'm sleeping, dreaming, and accepting that dream to be the reality and the only reality, close-minded to the fact that maybe there is a higher reality, maybe there is something different, something more. Either close-minded, unfortunately, or ignorant, unaware. It is less fortunate to be ignorant and unaware. It is most unfortunate to be close-minded. Ignorance can be removed. It takes a lot of hard effort to open a closed mind. And therefore, if you are open-minded, and that's essentially called Shraddha, right? In our, I have some faith. That's faith. Whoever has some Shraddha, a little bit of investment. When you go to buy a house, say, well, how much down payment are you going to put? At least 5%. Come on, you get it, maybe 20%, at least 5%. It brings something. You got this, you want this $500,000 loan. Can you bring, I don't know, $20,000, $25,000? Like that. If you want to experience complete freedom, can you bring a little bit of faith, a little bit of trust? And that's that idea that, well, yeah, you're sleeping right now, you're dreaming right now. This feels real. It feels so real. No one on the planet can say while dreaming that this is not real. The greatest of saints and gurus and sadhus, those who have written these scriptures, cannot claim the truth be told. Oh no, when I was dreaming, I knew I was not. No, if you were really dreaming, that was the only truth for you. Indeed. But when that dream broke or when you woke up, you realize that at the same instance, exactly while you were dreaming, with the same person, there was a higher reality in which this did not exist. The entire power belonged to the higher authority, higher power, higher reality. In it, no such thing was happening. It was very quiet, very calm, very peaceful, all that. And so that profound truth simply stated says, well, this phenomenal world actually does not exist. It is concocted, it is formed, momentarily formed, just like the dream characters did not exist and will not exist. If they do exist right now, they're also going from will not to did not to will not, because they're based in unreality. Therefore, they cannot sustain. They will not remain. And hence death of what we think we are. No body has lived forever because it never existed. It's like a dream character. The dreamer or the dreamer's ability to dream, the power to dream, always existed, dreaming or not. While in waking, it was the same person, wakeful moment. In dreaming, it was the same person. And in deep sleep, neither waking, neither wakeful, neither awake, nor dreaming, just a deep slumber, still the same person. In all three states, same person. Like that, before I was born, after I will die, as well as while I am here. In all three states, the real me, the ability, the dreamers, the beautiful dreamers' ability to dream this character and that character and that character. That ability, that power always was, always will, and still is. This concocted idea overlaid on it never was, never will, and neither is now. And that's what that verse was conveying. And so in 17, in the verse number 17, it had said, Therefore, Arjun, you should not worry so much about whether this Bhishma, my grandfather, will live or die, my guru, how can I do this, that. These are simply bodies that you're attaching to. And that's a very ignorant, that's the most basic, that's the rudimentary, that's the animalistic thinking. And look where we're stuck all this life. We have our PhDs, we have our MBAs, and we have our CEO titles, and we have all this. And look where we're stuck. In the most basic, most rudimentary, the lowest level of knowledge. We've reached the highest within the lowest. When we know so much of the world, phenomenal world, one could claim, I know everything there is to know of the phenomenal world. Okay, well, then you reach the highest point of the lowest level of knowledge. Great, congratulations. It amounts to nothing, practically. I've known everything there is to know in my dream. Okay, well, the dream doesn't exist. Great. And so it's very humbling. Knowledge is very humbling. The more we know how little we know, right? And so he says, yeah, just don't worry too much about it. We must preserve, retain goodness in any form, at any moment, in any circumstance. Our setting, our primary duty is to preserve goodness, to hold on to the truth, to spread love, truth, goodness, love. That alone can be joyful. That alone can be beneficial. That alone can be good for all. And so whether Bhishma lives or not, or Drona lives or not, you should not fight for that or not fight for that. Remember in the very first session I had said, Arjuna was stuck in the reason mode and Krishna was trying to pull him toward the purpose mode. Arjuna was constantly going back, being pushed by reason. He had come onto the battlefield because he had a reason to fight. Revenge was his reason, the injustice and the oppression. He was driven and propelled by the reason. But then there was a bigger reason. All of a sudden in front of him, there's a bigger reason to not fight. Well, I can't do that. It's my grandfather. That's why I don't want to fight. I cannot do that. Who does that? Kill your own guru. That's a bigger reason, therefore I don't want to fight. And so reasons can change, and based on that, our reactions do change. And it's going to be then a very confusing world, very confusing life to live. Krishna constantly was prodding to say, don't fight for the reason, fight for the purpose. Instead of being pushed, he was pulling him out of it. The purpose is to preserve goodness, dharma, in other words, the integrity. The purpose is to preserve, maintain the integrity of the design, of the cosmos, of the system that's created around you. You must contribute more than you consume. You must be a net contributor. We're dependent, we need, therefore we consume. Okay, consume what you need. Be sure to also contribute. Be a net contributor, meaning a little more contribution than I took. If I go to a temple, if I'm taking tirtha or prasad, and even if I don't, I'm an atheist. I don't. But I do go to the bathroom, I flush the flush, and I drink from the water fountain. And I tread on the carpet, the wear and tear. I did use the AC that was all around me. Therefore, I should at least put a $20 bill. If I took my family of 4 and we got plate full of prasad, should be cognizant of it. Unbeknownst to me, I consumed. And therefore, knowingly, I must contribute. I must contribute more than I consume. That's how we uphold the system. It's integrity, and that's dharma. Doesn't matter whether it's in a mosque or a church or a gurdwara or a temple. Doesn't matter which dharma. This is the more fundamental dharma. Gita is all about the fundamental, the very foundational level of it. From it stems all other religions, from the Sanatan Dharma, from the original Dharma, from the inherent Dharma, from the intrinsic Dharma, sprouts up all kinds of concocted Dharma religions. Okay, well, that's fine. They say this name or that name, or worship this deity or that deity, what suit yourself. Do not, though, ignore the foundation of it. in any of that. And one simple way to interpret that is I want to be a net contributor to the system. I cannot help but consume. I need. Humans are the neediest, arguably. Therefore, humans must also be the most contributing. And that should be the purpose to live. My point here was that when there is clarity of purpose, all confusion goes away and we're one pointed attention. We know exactly what we're doing because we know why we are doing it, right? The purpose is in answering the question, why? Therefore, I exhort often in these reflections that take a minute before you start anything, before you go anywhere, before you pick up the phone, before you turn the TV on, before you do whatever, take 30 seconds. Say, why am I doing this? Like just 30 seconds, why should I? And like from never before, clarity will start to come. And then after finishing whatever task it was, whatever show was watched, or whatever food was cooked, or whichever place was visited, take 90 seconds. And then quickly assess, what did I learn from it? What was the lesson in it? It's a 2-minute sadhana. It takes no more than 2 minutes. 30 seconds before and 90 seconds after. 30 seconds before saying, why am I doing this? Why am I thinking like this? Why am I talking like this? Why am I reading this book? Why am I watching this show? Why am I seeking this company? Whatever, right? Whatever it is. And 90 seconds after it is done, all right, so what did I learn from it? What was the lesson in it? At like any major task performed, if we can devote 2 minutes to this is sadhana. This is great sadhana. This is modern time sadhana. It's all right if we don't know the mantra, or don't have a mala, or can't sit still and chant and all that. Okay, well, we can do this. It's the thinking yoga. This comes in the 3rd chapter. This is not my own spice added. This is also from the Gita, Karma Yoga, essentially. Right after that, it'll take a while for us to get there, which is why I just pull out from here and there, so that at any given time you have all dimensions of the Gita, and we're not just going in a linear fashion that only verse after verse after verse. We do that too, obviously, but you have to know alongside what else is going to come. So in this verse that we just read, which was 18, said, well, listen, these forms that this soul takes are manifold. They're different, they're variegated. They change. They come to life, they stay for a while, they die. There's not a lot of meaning to it. There's not much substance to it. It's not very smart to attach to those. It really does not help to identify with those, because that is so limiting. When we attach to a name and form only, and the name and form are essential, name and form are useful, name and form are helpful, name and form are good. But if that's all there is to it in our life, well, I am this person, and this is my name, and this is my form, and this is how I look, and this is what I am, name, form, name, form, name, form, name, form. Then there's a limiting, and it's just like a tiny little thing, the vast, expansive ocean of consciousness that I once was, I've now shrunk to a little tiny bead, afraid of every little thing. So the exhortation here is to disregard the name and form, this Bhishma, this Duryodhan, this my brother, your brother. In reality, there's no such thing. You tell me in the dream, is that real? If you saw your enemy and your friend and your, like some set of people standing across, and these were your enemies, and these were chasing you, and these were trying to help you, and this was the police, and these were the dacoits. Is there any reality to it, no matter how real it feels? No, there isn't. Well, we do get taken by it momentarily. Okay, run from those if you must, if you want to carry out the dream. Wakefully carry out the dream. become aware of its unreality. And therefore, tasmad yuddhyasva bharat, and there, tasmad is therefore yuddhyasva. Get up and fight. Fight for the purpose. Fight for preserving goodness. Fight in order to retain, maintain the integrity of the system. So that good will experience goodness. If you fight for that, then it should not matter who lives and who dies and what happens, because you are always remaining in your duty. You are doing your part. You are contributing more than you're consuming. And therefore, you are supporting the system. Therefore, you are an enabler. And that is what's meant by a dharmic jivan, dharmic life. Therefore, you are aligned with, in the very last chapter, in the 18th chapter, Moksha Sannyas Yoga. Moksha is mukti, freedom, liberation. Sannyas is letting go. And so it's an indicative, the name itself suggests that real freedom is in letting go of everything else. As you hang on to something, then you're not free. It is not hanging on to you. You are hanging on to it. The thing, the object, the person, the relationship, the man or the woman, none of those are holding on to you. You, we, I, we hang on to it. Even the thing and the object, nothing binds us. So if you're willing to, if you're able to let go, let it be rather, not run away from it, let it be. It's the quickest and the surest and the most efficient way to experience freedom. That's just the title, Moksha Sannyas Yoga. In it, the final word before ending the Gita, this is it's not the final verse, but it's the final instruction, if you will. Final piece, like the climax of the instruction. Because after that, Krishna still talks, but then he says, look, listen, this isn't something that you should just blabber, openly talk to any Joe Schmo. You should really be careful in who you share this with. Not because Krishna is afraid of any secret, but it's not going to be valued. If they're not ready for it, they'll not value it, they'll devalue it. And you might get frustrated. You might pick up a fight in the process. It's not worth it. This isn't, while this is for everyone, it's only for those whose time have come, who are willing, who are open-minded. And there is a few other sort of expressions he shares in the end that, Arjun, there's no one dear to me than the one who shares this with the deserving. And my own secret, I'll tell you, why do I do this relentless Gita Yoga? I have 2 on Saturdays and 2 on Sundays. This is the 4th of 4 this weekend, because I believe that dictum. I want to become dear to him. And he said, well, when someone shares this knowledge to the deserving like you all, then he's approaching me, coming nearer and nearer and closer to my heart. Anyway, that aside, before all this expression of love, he says the last instruction is Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayishyami Mashucha. This is this is a verse worth saying with our tongue. And so we might, this is in the 18th chapter. The reason I brought this forward here is that he talked about Sharanagati in there, like Sharana, surrender, is sort of the English equivalent of the word. And it's a really bad translation. It's a 3rd-class translation just to call it surrender, Sharan. It's really aligning with it. Sharanagati is aligned with it. Listen, Arjuna, I've created this system. You're not going to change this. It's a colossal mass. These are fundamental laws. These are the very foundation, very core of entire creation. Neither Duryodhana, the miscreant, the villain is going to be able to change it. Nor you, the hero, no one is going to change these laws. So success is in figuring these laws out and then aligning with them, then you can harness those. Just like modern science now has understood astutely, understood the laws and harnessed the power. And science has no issue, the laws have no issue with harnessing its knowledge and its power and send rockets on Mars, do whatever the heck we want to do with its power. Science, the law don't say, no, 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 not yet. Your time is, yeah, harness all you want. They're unlimited. Gravity is unlimited. Light is unlimited. Heat, energy, anything is unlimited. If we can learn how to harness lightning, we could light the city of Chicago in a single lightning bolt. Lightning wouldn't care. Whatever, do it. So long as we honor the law, otherwise we will all be burned to ashes. If we don't respect it, that same lightning is going to burn us to ashes. And so the word sharan, just to remove some doubts, is not suggestive of, well, get on your knees, just bow down, like rub your nose in the dust, and then like wipe the ground in front of me with your hair. That's surrender. No, he's a lover. He's not a fighter, like Michael Jackson would say. Sri Krishna. He loves, he wants to love, he knows to love. And which is why, as the greatest well-wisher ever, he's saying, listen, it's just a simple secret. Don't worry about it, just align with it. It's all set up to succeed. Don't fight it. Learn about it, harness those, but don't fight it. Sarva dharman parityajya. Leave aside, disregard all other rules and rituals, and if you have to. It's not bad mouth anything anywhere in the Gita, which those are inferior, those are trivial, those are minuscule, those are minor practices. It's all right to leave those behind. Don't be stuck in those. Mam eka sharanam vraja. But align with me, Arjun. This is the entire system speaking to us through Krishna. This is not an egotistical, arrogant, idiot God who thinks he's the greatest. He's the entire being. He's the entire cosmos. He's the smartest and the sharpest and the humblest and the most well-wishing and the mightiest too. Most everything. Good. He's saying, just align with me. Mam ekam. Me alone. Am is me. Ekam is alone. Sharanam, align. Vraja. Like quickly, just fall behind. Aham, tvam. I will, yours. What? Aham is me. Tvam is yours. Sarva is all. Papebhyo. All the bad deeds and therefore the resultant negative experiences that you're exposed to. You don't have a choice to experience grief and misery and fear, and jealousy, anger, all those. Sarva papebhyo moksha isham. I'll get rid of those for you. Do not worry. Ma shucha. Do not be saddened. Shok. Ma shucha. Don't grieve. No reason to grieve. You have no reason to grieve. If you learn of my laws, if you understand the fundamentals of dharma, this intrinsic nature, which is set in truth, goodness, and love. If you align with these, if you live a life filled with these, if you don't breach these, if you uphold this, if you're willing to give your life to maintain its integrity, then I trust me, you will not experience grief. Right now you're crying, Arjun. This is the last thing in the 18th chapter, or in the first chapter he was crying and fearful and angry. Like, what the heck is this? I don't want to do this. This cannot be. This makes no sense. I'm confused. I'm afraid. And in the end, it's the opposite reaction. So that's really the crux of dharma. And that's what is meant by sharan, the alignment of it. There's a lot of clarity in it. It's rare. I mean, one of my challenges with following someone else's translation or listening to others is that they either rush through it or, and again, this isn't criticism at all. They are no one other than me. I know this well. But I'm just pointing out how I have benefited by slowing down really, rather than rushing through, by slowing down And rather than accepting at face value whatever translation whoever has put out, giving it my own thought. And that's where majority of the clarity has come to. I'd encourage you to do the same rather than taking my word for it. Same rule applies to me. I'd encourage you to read two verses, maybe one verse a day. Not too much to ask for, one verse. How about this 1 minute? Even 1 minute, no more than a minute, reading the Gita, and then a few more minutes when you can, thinking about it. Now, what might this mean? What might he have meant? Could it be this? Could it be that? What about this? And just watch the leaps and bounds with which clarity illuminates the inside. Good. And that process is dhyan, by the way, of quietly sitting down and thinking. And so I would suggest that the most efficient spiritual practice, quickest, easiest, most efficient, it's really possible, is a combination of the Gita and Dhyan. Gita and Dhyan, and then Gita and Dhyan. A little bit of reading of the Gita and a little more of meditation on it every day. And then a little more reading of the Gita and a little more than that reading Dhyana. There's one of the greatest yogis that India has produced in modern times, Paramahansa Yogananda, if you have heard the name. Self-realization fellowship was his. He lived in the US. He came here when he was 20 some years old, 21, 22, I think, maybe 23 maximum. And then he lived here until 60, mostly in California, but at other places also. San Diego was his, San Diego and LA were so the two of the most prominent. They're still just extremely beautiful ashrams. He has right now visited those actually a few times. I'm very influenced by him. Autobiography of a Yogi is the book that he had written. If you haven't read, it's like one of the best reads. And he used to say that do 10% reading and 90% thinking. I mean, he had something to say about writing also. He really wanted his disciples to write as well. And so he would say, I forget the exact measure, but he would say like, read in 1 measure and think in 4 measures, 4 units, and write in 5 measures. If you had 10 units of time, use 1 unit to read, 4 units to think about what you read, and 5 units to write. I can't do that. I used to write a lot. I'm no longer as much fond of it, but I do a lot of thinking. I would encourage you to do the same. Read and think, read and think, read and think. If you want to write, that's even better about it. Because then you will not need a lot of just drama around everything. You really not need any drama around it. It just cuts right through it. It very simplifies everything. So here then, to conclude this verse and take up the next one, essentially he said, Anta Vanta Ime Deha, this body, Ime is this, Deha is body, form, right? Anta Vanta, in the end, this perishes, it's perishable. Anta Vanta means perishable in the end. It's not going to stay. This Bhishma, this drone, if you don't kill, doesn't mean that they're going to live forever. Don't be childish. Don't be foolish, Arjun. That's not a good reason to leave the battle. That may be a reason, but definitely you're forgetting the purpose for which this has to be fought. So, anta vanta ime deha nityasya uktaha sharirinaha. Ukta is, it is said. Uktaha is that it is said, nityasya, always perishable, everything. And by that, he means it's not that once it's born, body is born, and suppose it had 80 years of life, it'll stay the same for 80 years and suddenly drop like a cliff hanger and die. Every moment it is dying, he's saying, nityasyokta sharirina. The moment it was born, it's actually dying. There's no such thing as a birthday. In reality, it is a death day that is being celebrated. Happy death day to you, if you're the body. And if that is the case, then it would be an unhappy, not a happy day to you. It's just like a pond doesn't suddenly dry. It was filled one day, it stayed filled for 7 months, and then 7 months, and one day the whole thing is gone, dried up. Every day it was evaporating a little bit, drying up. Like that, this body, and while a simple truth, look at the profundity. It is how often do we think about it? Like right now I'm dying. This is moving away from me. This is going away from me. There's nothing I can do to hold on to this. There's nothing anyone has ever been able to do to hold on to it. Maybe prolong, maybe avoid this, that a little bit, but not hold on to it. No matter how much wealth, no matter how much prowess, power, knowledge, access, contacts. Steve Jobs, he had registered in 13 states. So that whichever state has the lung available first, he had bought properties in that many states. I heard this. So he could claim that. No, the time is up. His time is up. So just think antavanta ime deha nityasyokta sharirina. It is always, it's constantly, steadily perishing. Anashino aprameyasya. And the upholder of the body, that which is enlivening, embodied soul, though is nasharahit, indestructible, imperishable, aprameyasya, beyond proof. Don't be stuck in, well, prove it to me. And it will not be proven. You and I will both be dead if we're trying to prove it before it can be proven. It is not in the proof, because the proof is sensory, right? He said, prove this, it can be proven by the eyesight, or the sounds that the ear can hear, or the taste, or the smell, or the touch. It's way beyond it. It's far subtler than it. These are gross senses. They cannot catch it. And therefore it cannot be proven. It cannot be proven does not mean it does not exist. We've had a hard time proving the existence, figuring out and managing the existence of a virus, which we know is a thing. And this is subtler still. This is a principle. It's not even a matter. This isn't even an object. And so don't be stuck in the mode of, well, this puny science, oh, prove this, show me that. That's very limited. These organs, these are all very limited. And so we just have to trust. Intuitively, it can be experienced. That's the glory of it. The expectation is not that, well, it cannot be proven, therefore maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Those who believe it will be saved and sent to heaven. Those who don't believe it will be sent to hell and burn for eternity. No, nowhere is it a thing like that. It actually can be experienced. It cannot be seen. It cannot be heard. It, meaning I'm talking about you, the real you, the Atma that you are. It cannot be seen, it cannot be heard, it cannot be smelled, it cannot be tasted, it cannot be felt, like with the touch, but it can be experienced. I would love for you to think about it in your own meditation. What does this mean? That it cannot be seen, heard, tasted, this, that, but it can be experienced. Anything that we see, anything that I'll get you started on that thought. Anything that we see, anything that we hear, ultimately is seen or heard after we experience that inside. Right? Something that I put on my tongue to eat, the experience is within, the experience is inside, whether it's sweet or good or not, or whatever I see. The eyeballs don't know anything. Who's who? They don't care, they don't get it, they don't know it. It is the experience inside. And so this is a sixth sense directly. It usurps, goes above, bypasses the five senses, directly, securely lodges in the experience faculty of it, intuitively. And hence samadhi, right? It's weird. Samadhi, eyes closed, in a quiet place, no sight, no sound. Samadhi, the yogi isn't eating any fruit or chips while realizing. They're not like touching anything or anyone. I don't have a lot of smells going on. They're just in deep samadhi and yet experiencing the bliss because it usurps, it transcends all of those and just directly manifests itself. This is real. It is to be experienced. You all have experienced experiences that have gone beyond just the sensory perception. Whatever you have perceived only meant something after you experienced it. Until you experienced it, it was meaningless. It didn't even exist as it. And so all that I had to say to increase your level of faith in this wisdom, the level of trust, that it's worth it. And this is what it's saying. It's not, this isn't in the battlefield. I'm not going to show you, although later on he ends up showing, right, in the 11th chapter, out of mercy, that, oh, prove this, prove that. First trust me, then experience it, is basically what he's saying. Like hops, catch and jump. Just take a couple of steps. Otherwise, it'll take you a very long time, very treacherous path. Who knows, you might end up dying in the process. So, and then the next one, maybe we'll do one more. I think, how are we doing on time? I think we should be okay. Yeah. So we started late, so I'm going to end late. Ya enam veti hantaram yaschainam manyate hatam ubhavtau na vijanito nayam hanti na hanyate. जो इस आत्मा को मारने वाला समझता है तथा जो इसको मरा मानता है वे दोनों नहीं जानते, क्योंकि यह आत्मा वास्तव में न तो किसी को मारता है न किसी के द्वारा मारा जाता है. Let's see what Eknath Ishwaran has to translate this as. One believes he is the slayer. Another believes he is the slain. Both are ignorant. There is neither slayer nor slain. This is number 19. Ubhav is both, neither. They're just as ignorant. Someone says, I won, and someone says, I lost, or I conquered him or her, this, that. There aren't two, period. Two do not exist. Advaita Vedanta, you may have heard. Ved is a body of knowledge. Complete body of knowledge, not just project management body of knowledge or engineering, or the totality of the body of knowledge, everything combined together, body of knowledge is Ved. Anta is the end, summum bonum of it, the end summary, the end all be all, like the final conclusion, inference from it, from the entire body of mass of knowledge. Go figure that. All the cosmic laws and all the sciences and all the philosophies and everything that's inside and outside. What is that single conclusion of that? String theory. So that's Vedanta. Advait. Dvait is dual. Two. Advait is non-dual. Unified. Single. One and only, Advaita Vedanta, Siddhant, it's been proven. Siddha is experienced, Anta, proven as an experienced. So that's what we, our religion, our being, the truth, Gita, everything is rooted in Advaita Vedanta. There aren't two. So who is slain? Who is slain? There's only one, the totality of it. There are not two oceans. I mean, in fact, we might call it 5 oceans or 6 seas or 7, whatever. The body of waters are still connected, visibly connected on the surface. We created divisions. This is the Atlantic on this side, this is the Pacific on that side. Well, that's far away, that's the Indian Ocean. But yeah, well, there are points on the planet where they're actually all connected. And even where they are not visibly, physically connected under the earth, they surely are connected with the water table, right? Absolutely connected, of course, they're connected. It's a single body of water. single mass of water. So is the land connected, may not be visibly connected, but underneath, it could not be not connected because then the earth would have different pieces just floating around. It is connected. It's just we don't see it because of the water on it. Just single, and the land and the water are connected. So go figure that. All the water is connected as a single body of water. All the land is connected as a single mass of land. And all the land and all the water is then also at a macro level, still connected as a single entity we call Earth. Prove me wrong. It is all connected. And that's a very, very crude form of explaining it. Very basic because it's so physical, it's very objective. Here it's spiritual, saying not just this too, but everything else. There is only one. It is so simple as saying in the dream, Arjun, the bird and the bicycle and the mountain and the woman carrying the water pot on her head and that flashing Lamborghini, they were all the same. They looked so different, but they were all the same in the one. They were not different. And the galaxies either. And the speck of dust, everything, everyone in it. The tens of thousands of waves constantly dancing, creating, dancing and perishing on the bosom of the ocean from time immemorial. They're all still the same. Just the same water, momentarily forming and deforming and forming and deforming. The short and the long and the deep and the shallow. They're all the same. There's only one, that ocean, mighty ocean. So it isn't very difficult to understand. This gold slab, gold brick that I took to India and then created the various jewelries for my beautiful wife, the nose ring and the earring and the bracelets and the anklets and this and that. They're all, we broke it into pieces and not gave it different shapes and form. They're all gold. You can dissolve all those and form something else out of it. It's still gold. It was gold. It is gold. It will be gold. So it is everything here. And so it is not very smart to adopt this divisive, exclusive mindset. Me and mine and you and yours. It's really dumb. Let's just call it what it is. It is very smart to be unitive and inclusive. The more inclusive we can be, the more favor we're doing to ourselves by expanding our own perspective, by uplifting our own understanding. Inclusive and unitive, not exclusive and divisive. This is a central message of the Gita, and hence the glory of the Gita. Be proud of it, that this is what we belong to. Right? This is ours, this is mine. It should be for everyone's. It's for everyone. Later on in the 9th chapter, towards the end of the 9th chapter, he says that this isn't just for the king or for the gurus or for the sadhus or for the saints. It is equal for the men. It is just so also for the women and just for any caste, whatever, whoever. See, this knowledge is the basic truth. It's the same for everyone. So, other than this is ignorance. In this shlok, he said, those who think exclusive, oh, well, they killed and they got killed and they won and they lost, dividing out, they're both just as ignorant. There's no such thing. It's a play. It's a play, continuous play going on in the same field. So, and I had mentioned once that this one, the next shlok, which is the 20th shlok, is often recited by Panditjis in the temples, or when someone dies and we call the Panditji to do the puja, and they recite this shlok, Na jayate mriyate va kadachin, nayam bhutva bhavita vana bhuya, ajo nitya shashvato yam purano, na hanyate hanyamane sharire. This is where he takes a turn now. Sri Krishna in this chapter is taking traction. This is getting a grip now. getting traction, because now he's centrally talking about the Atma. He's now starting to define and describe and narrate the Atma. And so this has suddenly gotten serious now. From with this shlok, and we'll take up more of this in the next time, but at least we should see what this is. Na is not, jayate is born. Ja, anything that starts with janma, for example, we say janam. It is not born. Na jayate, na mriyate, mrityu, marana, mri. Na jayate, na mriyate. Wa means either. This is neither born nor dies. Kadachin is ever. In other words, this thing called Atma, never born and therefore never dies. Only that will die which was born. It never born. It was never. This was never born. Where is the question of dying? Ever. How the heck does that, what does that mean? Never born? How does it exist then? If it wasn't even born? Is it some ghost? No, it is that thing that always existed, in which everything else was created. It is the substratum, it is the basic substance, it is the fundamental first, it is the first matter, it is the original object. It was never born. Just like the dream characters were born in my head, the dream characters lived and floated and acted up in my head, and the dream characters perished in my head. I existed before them. Before anything in my dream, I existed. It happened because I existed. It was created because I empowered it. It happened because I had the ability to uphold it, prop it up, and take it back when the time was up. I was there before. And therefore, if in the dream world, if someone sitting in a chariot, someone standing in the chariot in the dream world is saying to someone sitting in the chariot with his head down that, hey, listen, don't be so depressed. None of this was ever the real us, Arjun. This isn't when we were created, when this dream started, and then we are here. You and I, Arjun, have been here before this dream began. We were there yesterday, and the day before yesterday, and the day before yesterday, and we never changed. We were the same one, the dreamer. This dream is going to end at 3 o'clock if it started at 2 o'clock in the night. But guess what? You and I will still exist tomorrow and the day after and the day after that as well as the dreamer. Therefore, na jayate, na mriyate va kadach. We weren't created, and therefore we don't die. We always existed as the Atma, as the original substance. Nayam bhutva bhavita vana bhuyaha. Not only was it not born, therefore not dying, it was not even created. It is the original. In it, everything else was created. I understand that this is abstruse, that it is a bit enigmatic. You would need to apply yourself to it. This is a phenomenal, this is a fantastic topic to meditate upon. You must, in your own meditation, and see the light bulbs going on. See how click, 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 suddenly some very deep truths start revealing themselves. You exert, you put and give it some time and effort to it. Ajo nitya shashvatoyam puran. Aja, ajanma, birthless, meaning this birth and death is in the relative world. We're talking about the absolute here. Again, I don't have any easy way to explain the difference between the relative and the absolute. I mean, the distinction is kind of sort of obvious. Relative is relative to something else, which means in itself it doesn't mean anything. If it is hot compared to something. If it is cold compared to something. If it is hot, there is something else that is hotter than this, then what's its value? If it is cold, there's something colder than this. Rich, old, young, pretty, all that is all relative, relative, relative. Atma is absolute. It's that standard with which, from which, out of which, in which everything else is created, exists, and annihilates. You can compare those with each other. Which one is greater? Which one is the taller wave? Which one is the longer wave? Which wave is flowing for a longer duration, shorter, this, that? The ocean is absolute. They're all in it. They're all created of it, by it, and they also subside in it. No wave will be greater than the ocean. So, being absolute, this is aja, nitya, forever, always existing, eternal. Who? You. Literally you. I'm talking about you. Because he's talking about you. He may be talking to Arjun, but he's talking about us as much as Arjun or Bhishma or Drona, because we're all that, right? Souls, spirit souls, Atma. Therefore, be fearless, worry-free, stress-free, tension-free, live first class, bindas, playfully professional, like I said, right? Ajo nitya shashvato, shashvat is eternal, I mean forever. Ayam purano, this is historic of historic. This is the age-old, aboriginal, of original. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. This doesn't die, this doesn't get killed, this is not burned. It's the body, it's just the outer shell, it's the form, it's the wave that crashes against that rock and breaks into 1,000 pieces. Before you know it, all those 1,000 pieces, didn't you notice they've already formed another wave and they're just joyfully flowing. You're crying here saying, this wave crashed. No such thing. They were all drops of water come together, flowing together. They're all still drops of water, reformed and flowing together still. No, do not grieve. There's no place for grief. Ma shucha, like I said in that. Aham tva sarvapa. I'll get rid of all negatives for you. Ma shucha. There'll be no reason for you to grieve. So let's stop here. We did through 20. Next time, 2 weeks from now, we'll start with 21. If I forget, you remind me. This dissertation will continue for a little bit more about the Atma, the description of the Atma. Oh, what is it? How is it? All that. Oh, what happened to my focus? Okay. And then he takes another turn towards the application of it, meaning what do you do with it? Okay, well, I am Atma, I'm not this body, so what? That's the lovely beauty of the Gita. It automatically, it's an auto set. It recalibrates itself every time. So what? What's the big deal about being an Atma? Okay, you're saying this, that know yourself to be the Atma. What will happen? If I really experience myself as the Atma and not the body, what will happen? He goes on to explain. Then Arjun will ask, well, have there been any who've actually achieved? And he will say, many, many. Bahu is the word used. Bahu is not the daughter-in-law. The plural, Bahu means plural. Many, several, innumerable have experienced this. Bahu, many souls have experienced this. Then you'll ask, and so how do they live after experiencing that, after understanding themselves as the Atma? Do they hang upside down? Do they not eat? Do they stop eating? Do they still look the same, or do they suddenly grow stripes on them, or horns or thorns, or what happens? Then he'll answer that question, and that is the last portion of this chapter. Nothing happens, he says. Nothing changes externally, and nothing remains the same internally. Outside, same exact person. Inside, complete transformation, transmuted. All has changed. Everything has changed inside. Nothing has changed from the outside. So he goes on gloriously describing that internal change in the last 17 verses. I think it's from 55th verse in the second chapter through the 72nd. So that will be the last 17 verses. I've never come across. I mean, there are other places in the Gita. There are 2 or 3 other places like that. Super sharp description of that steady state of mind. So those are the phenomenal places we have to visit still right in this chapter. What to say of the following chapters? Such is the glory of the Gita. Such is the glory of your good fortune that you decided to use this time and devote it for this. It is good fortune. It is mercy. It is kripa. This is by invitation only. I'm not talking about Gita. I'm not talking about my session. This is what, there's no value of that. I'm talking about you, invitation to you to look into the Gita. It only happens when it comes straight from the Lord. This is your good deeds, not just of this life, many past lifetimes. This is a great achievement, accomplishment, a ton of austerity. And many of your births have brought you here. I'm not kidding. I'm saying it because I know it. I wouldn't say it if I didn't know it. I have nothing to gain from you. Otherwise, I am saying all this so you will value what you have earned. So you'll hold on to it and make gold of it. And then you'll shine in your own glory like gold, brighter than gold. Jai Shri Krishna. Let's do a little bit of dhyan, and then I'll want to hear from you.